Hello, my name is Megan O'Russell.
And my name is Christopher Russell, and welcome back to Page by Page, Writing the Book in Real Time. It is episode 7, which means chapter 6 is happening today. So how are you feeling? You were excited for me to read this one.
I'm excited because I feel like we get into some of the meatier exposition on Ella's backstory.
Yeah, we do.
And I feel like there's a sort of signpost that I feel like is going to propel readers to where we're going.
Are you willing to talk about what that signpost is? Because I'm a little confused. But should we wait until after?
We should wait until after.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so then without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce the beer of the week. This is one of my personal favorites. We discovered this.
I drank some from mine. Mine's a little low.
Good grief. Well,
we had some technical difficulties, so I had to do it while it was working.
And that's okay. But this one is one that we discovered when we were living in Fort Myers, even though the brewery is in Tampa. It's Coppertail Brewery, and it is the Unholy Triple, which is a very hoppy triple. It's really good, and even you like it.
Yeah, and I don't like beers.
Yeah, you don't like pale ales.
IPAs taste like underwear drawer potpourri.
Oh my gosh!
It tastes like I went into my great grandmother's underwear drawer and just like found the flowers and started nashing.
Like I would make fun of you for your dislike of IPAs, with the exception of the fact that you prefer porters. Like, and I'm not like a huge fan. And I don't know if you remember, we did that Sam Adams tour when we were on the. Oh, was it the Fiddler tour or the Oz tour? I don't remember, but I think it was Fiddler. But because yeah, but they're like those of you who don't like dark beers, you need to get over yourselves because they're excellent. And I was just kind of like, I do like them more now. But she at the time was like,
what can I say? I have classy taste.
You do have classy taste. So cheers to episode 7,
to chapter 6.
Woo.
Oh.
Okay, so do you want to recap chapter 5 a little bit for us? Do you remember what happens in it?
Yes. So previously on Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer.
I am not creating music for previously on, just so you know.
Yet. Previously on Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer, we had Ella's first day of school. During Ella's first day of school, her Algebra 2 teacher, not yet dead Carver, had a heart attack. She did have a vision of the heart attack before it was happening. So she helped to get him help in time, and so he could, have a shot at recovering. Right. So she is back for her second day of school, where she is.
Man, this is only day 2.
It is only her second day of school.
Ella.
Where she arrives at school after being walked to school by a handsome young Fey man.
A dryad, even.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's important right now, but still.
It's nice that you know he's a dryad.
I do know he's a dryad.
It sounded like you were like
dryad.
Yeah, but the way you said it did not make it sound alluring.
Oh.
It made it sound like it's a dryad dryer sheet. Use dryad. It'll keep your plants clean.
Try dryad. All right. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so she gets walked to school by the handsome dryad boy. And when she arrives, she finds that she is being hailed as a hero for helping to save her teacher's life. She is gifted a stuffed ram with a little cape on it that says hero and brought to the gymnasium for a welcome or for a thank you speech for her and for Jason Archer, who is the one who helped her take care of Mr. Carver.
And then something happens.
Bwah, bwah, bwah. At the end of the chapter, we switch to the watcher's point of view, and they are recording as the fire alarm goes off in the school auditorium during Principal Harrison's speech, which is just disrespectful.
Which is just rude.
Like, if he took the time to write a speech, let him finish the speech.
Right, agreed.
But
I blame the author.
I don't know. It could be because the fire alarms in our building keep going off. And all of a sudden
man, y'all, it just keeps happening. And there's no fire, but it just happened an hour ago.
Yeah.
Even, I feel like I'm constantly saying, we finished editing an hour ago. This time it was like 3 or 4 hours before we're recording. But yeah, like an hour ago, the fire alarms in our building just start going off again. We're like, what? It's driving me crazy. Anyway, that's fine. That's a story for another time.
Wait,
kids.
Cheers one more time.
Oh, cheers one more time. I'm so sorry. Cheers.
To Ella Dae.
To Ella Dae.
Okay.
All right. So then here we go. We're jumping into chapter 6. Yeah, I was going to say something to preface this, but no, I'm gonna let them go along this ride the way that I did too. What? You have a finger?
Oh, no, I'm just trying not to sneeze. Don't mind, if you were listening to this in podcast form, don't mind the sound of me opening the little Vicks jar, putting a little bit on my nose. I'm just going to close that up. I have some allergies. Okay, here we go. Continue.
Man, we are a mess. Okay, here we go. So, Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer, Chapter 6. Red lights flashed in my eyes, pulsing through my vision like my mind had created the chaos around me. Sirens blared in my ears, echoing off the gym walls, screaming that the world would stop and shatter and start moving again in a broken, unforgivable mimicry of what life had been before. But the horde around me didn't scream in terror at the monsters who'd come to burn the world. They hurried in little lines toward the door promising salvation. The way they moved, flustered but without urgency, without drive, without any hint of understanding of what the lights and sound meant. Fire and pain and death and nothing left but ashes. Gravity grabbed my arm, dragging me toward the orderly sheep, forcing me into the flock of idiots who wouldn't survive if they didn't know how to run. Through the door, out into the open where the mind-shattering pounding of the sound and lights deadened, dulling. Gravity shifted, releasing my arm, but not letting go as it pushed. No, shoved. Carried? Me after the horde that wouldn't move faster, that didn't understand how quickly death came. The flock funneled into the strip of trees separating the parking lot from the athletic field. Students clustered around their teachers, leaning against trees, giving in to fate. None of them smelled. I didn't know if what I was smelling was real, or now, or if my mind was just torturing me, or if I'd finally fallen too far and I'd never know the difference between the now and the visions again. It didn't matter. The stench of burning plastic and wood and chemicals and rubber and wires and memories and flesh, please don't let it be human, slammed into my nose, twisting my stomach, snapping the gossamer of reason I'd managed to cling to. I ran. But I wasn't on the ground when I started running. I twisted away from the gravity that held me too tight, kicking free, running from the panicked shouts that rolled through the students, stealing their reckless calm. If that meant the stench wasn't a vision or trauma-driven hallucination, if there really was a fire. My legs gave out as I reached the place where the strip of trees met the woods. I didn't feel my knees hit the ground. My stomach seized, tossing up the bit of breakfast I'd managed to eat, like maybe the half a protein bar was the reason a chorus of sirens raced into the parking lot. Breathe, Ella. Breathe, Ella. Fucking breathe, Ella. I hadn't even managed a full inhale before a hand touched my shoulder. Don't. I didn't manage to form the word as daylight disappeared. The trees around me twisted, growing taller, closer together, their branches tearing at my face as I chased something. No, someone. I'll get an EMT. The voice, a real voice, came from close by, from the actual present moment. I tried to cling to the sound, but a room surrounded me instead. Paige, definitely Paige, stood in front of a wall of photos. She yanked a picture from the wall, screaming as she tore it apart. Give her a second, a different, real voice said. Make sure Mrs. Parker knows where we are, then get some water and ice from Carl. For a split second, my mind almost clawed its way back to the trees beside school. But she... a third real person started. But Paige and her photos snapped away, leaving me in the... But Paige and her photos snapped away, leaving me in a hall. A normal hall. Normal home. A storm rumbling outside the curtained window. Please. A real voice. Jason. That's Jason's voice. Water and ice, Tessa. Real now, Jason spoke close to my ear as gravity wrapped around me again, lifting my body while I stayed trapped in the hall. If you'd trust me for once, a not real girl shouted behind me. I turned in time to watch a door slam shut. Jason, not now Jason with a massive bruise on his jaw, stared at the door, hurt and fear in his eyes. Can you breathe, Ella? Real Jason said. I need you to breathe. I'm trying. I promise I'm trying. Shadows surged into the hall, chasing glittering black wings.
Black devoured Jason as something closer to rage filled his blue eyes. A different person took his place. Lying face down on cracked concrete, blood matting her hair, she lay still, corpse still. I needed to see her face. I fought my way toward her, pushing through the weight that dragged against my flesh as I battled my own mind for a better view of whoever's death I'd been forced to see. A blast of cold against the back of my neck pierced the vision, crumbling the cracked concrete and fallen girl, crashing me back into the reality of the growing stench of smoke in the air. Sour shot into my throat. You're okay, Jason. Real, corporeal, now Jason laid his ice-pack-free hand on my shoulder. You're okay. I focused on the burning in my throat and pain throbbing in my head, digging my nails into my palms as I begged any damned force willing to listen to save me from tipping back into the vision vortex from hell. I've got water for you. A girl from math class twisted open the bottle. Can you make sure people don't wander back here? Jason asked. Everyone's watching the school. Paige stood nearby. I hadn't noticed her staring through the trees back toward the fire trucks, her face pale, 2 stuffed rams clutched to her chest. I think the school might actually be on fire. Jason's hand tensed on my shoulder. It is. I clenched my fist enough to reach for the water bottle. I can smell it.
Unclenched.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No fist bump
This is why you're here. Thank you.
Boop.
Don't
Thanks
stop.
for the water bottle.
Stop making fun of me.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I think that ratings might go higher if you keep making fun of me. Oh, no, we've lost her. All right, no,
Okay,
I'm taking
continue.
a beer break. Nope, I'm taking a beer break. You coughed. Okay.
What? It wouldn't make sense
Jason's
either way.
hand tensed on my shoulder. Shh. It is. I should probably go up because we lost track of the fire. Everyone's watching the school. Paige stood nearby. I hadn't noticed her staring through the trees back toward the fire trucks, her face pale, 2 stuffed rams clutched to her chest. I think the school might actually be on fire. Jason's hand tensed on my shoulder. It is. I unclenched my fist enough to reach for the water bottle. I can smell it. My hand started shaking, trembling like a begging pauper in a bad school play. Abandoning the water, I hid my hand in my lap. Do you need help? Jason asked. I'm not thirsty. I mean an EMT, Jason said. A nice trip to the hospital to confirm my freak status. I'm fine, I said. You don't have to be. Paige stepped closer. Something behind her caught my eye. A shadow in the woods. Having every emergency vehicle in Laureldale race to school could be triggering in 100 ways, Paige said. The shadow shifted. Moving just enough, I caught a glimpse of his face in a stray patch of sunlight. Worry creased Caleb's brow and flattened his lips. None of us are going to judge you if you need help, Paige said. Caleb tipped his head, as though asking a silent question. I hoped the question was, do you need my help? I hoped the offer was sincere. I'm fine. I let my hand shake as I reached back to take over holding the ice pack to my neck. Thanks, though. Are you sure? Jason asked. Yeah. I spoke the word toward the woods. I thought I saw Caleb give a tiny nod as he melted back into the shadows. Jason sat back on his heels, slowly lifting his hand from my shoulder like he wanted to make sure I wouldn't topple over. The sounds from near the school changed, the fear in the students' voices gaining a pitch of excitement. Holy shit, the teacher's lounge is on fire! Paige sank to the ground. Like an actual fire. You really can't smell it? I said. A dumb question. Not because seers have a supernatural sense of smell, but because... Paige took a deep sniff. Her face went even paler than her normal freckled porcelain. Why the hell does it smell like that? Burning buildings don't smell like a campfire, the girl with the water said. Even in a normal house, you've still got wiring, furniture, chemicals. The image of Jason in the hall slammed into my mind, punching the present aside. But Paige and her pictures, dozens and dozens of pictures pinned to the wall, twisted Jason away. I pushed the back of my head against the tree behind me as hard as I could, letting the pencil I'd shoved into my hair press a line of pain into the back of my skull, clinging to the pain like a twig dangling me over the abyss. The vision faded, but my mind lingered in the void left behind. I could let go, fall down into the black and let the shadows consume me. Let every part of me dissolve into the darkness until there wasn't enough of my soul left to feel pain. Don't do this, Ella. You fought too hard to be here. You can't fall again. You don't have the strength to claw your way back up. Ella? Paige said. I opened my eyes. I don't know when I'd scrunched them shut. If you want us to give you some space, or to just stop talking, please tell me. She kept her voice low and measured, the tone near comical against the pandemonium of the 800 students watching the fire crews work. I honestly don't know how to help. Creating intricate paths for a normal welcome week I can do, but I've never lost anybody close to me. And trying to shove yourself into a new school right after losing your parents is something I hope I'll never understand. Not right after. I moved the ice pack to the front of my neck, like that could numb the knot in my throat. My parents died a long time ago. 81 days. Oh, a tiny wrinkle pinched between Paige's eyebrows. That doesn't make it less awful. Jason's eyes flicked to meet hers, his gaze free of the rage. Had he been the angry one, or had Paige been the one staring at the slammed door looking ready to kill? No, Paige with the pictures, Jason in the hall. The visions had already started swirling again, twisting the images into an abstract, unsolvable mess. What the hell kind of shit were the humans in this town doing? There had been wings and shadows. And fuck, why the hell was there a dead girl? The girl with the water sat beside Jason. If it's the fire trucks that are scaring you, I'm not afraid of fire trucks. Any kind of fire can be traumatizing. Water Girl held the bottle out to me. If the smoke and noise are bothering you because your parents had a house fire, we can get out of here. Tessa, Paige whisper warned. It wasn't my parents' house. The pure truth of the words stilled my hand as I took the bottle from Water Girl Tessa. It was my grandmother's. I'd been staying with her, hiding with her, pinning ourselves in for the slaughter with her. Shit, Ella, don't fall. You can't fall. Did your grandma make it out? No! The fuckers killed her. The fuckers, the monsters, the demons that came in the night and killed them and burned them, and now I'm alone. The fuckers left me alone. 81 days all fucking alone, and tomorrow 82, and then 83, and on, and on, and on, and on until the monsters finally kill me. Cement filled my lungs. They couldn't move. I couldn't remember if they'd ever been able to move. I shook my head. Water splashed on the front of my shirt as I finally attempted to take a drink. Shit, Paige said. I looked her way, hoping for another report on the school's inferno. She stared back at me, the shit-worthy disaster. I tried for another sip and actually managed to swallow. The cold water loosened my lungs enough for a shallow breath. Then getting you out of here is definitely in order, Tessa said. I forced down another sip. I don't think you're allowed to leave the scene of a fire, Paige said. Unless they make you. Unless they make you. Unless they make you run. Make you leave them. Abandon them. Abandon them to die. To die and have their bodies burned. Shit. Shit, you're not allowed to lose it. An abyss formed of grief and fear pulled on my chest, begging me to sink down and disappear. Or maybe I was wrong. Maybe the darkness that would be so much easier to just tumble into and accept was less a void and more like the bottom of the ocean, and I wouldn't dissolve. I would be crushed by infinite weight until there was nothing left of me. Ella, Jason touched my shoulder. The trees tipped, and another fucking vision yanked me away from the alluring peace of nothingness. Jason running through something almost like a restaurant, but weaving between fancy wingback chairs. A phone pressed to his ear. He flung open a door in the far corner, not slowing as he raced through, and slammed the door behind him. The bang of the slam pounded through my head like someone had struck a gong right beside my ear, smashing the almost restaurant. slamming my mind back to the present. Maybe we should get an EMT, Paige said. Don't. I kept the ice pack pressed to my neck as I eased my way up to standing, letting my wobbling knees think they were the problem while I methodically rammed every vision, memory, and instinct that roared through my mind behind the thickest wall my exhausted, pathetic ass could manage, only leaving a tiny niche of reason where thoughts could function, knowing the price I would pay when the wall inevitably cracked and set the storm loose, not giving a shit because I couldn't fucking hold out anymore. Repress or crack, the only options I had left. I don't need medical help, I said. I'm just going to get the hell out of here and deal with the consequences later. Future me was going to be really pissed about the fallout from this wreck. I can get us out of here without any trouble, Tessa stood. My dad's the fire chief, and his version of no sounds just like yes. Trust me, we can leave. Thanks, Tessa. That would be great. Can you try for our release too? Paige asked. And Sydney, Andre, and Violet? Violet? Tessa asked. Nikolic, Paige nodded. The school catching fire doesn't change the fact that this is day one of Ella's official intro to Laureldale. The plan is to welcome Ella, and it's still going to happen. She opened the kindness envelope first. Sydney can use this as a lesson in adjusting expectations. Tessa sucked her lips into her mouth, her eyes going wide. Unless you'd like to just go home for the day. Paige looked at me with the kind of sympathy and understanding I should have been more grateful for. You needing peace after this shit show is worth delaying your welcome agenda. Option 1. Go home. Try to avoid Kate's worried inquisition. Spend hours trying to piece the visions into an understandable order. Fail. Fall asleep knowing the nightmares will be even more jagged and painful than I've learned to bear. Option 2. Go with Paige. Get sucked into whatever weird welcome shit she has planned, pretend to laugh, try to make friends, then begin option 1 only a few hours later. I tested the wall in my mind, checking for cracks, pretending I was sure I could keep the visions out if I just escaped the stench of the burning school. I don't want to sit at Kate's for the rest of the day. I kicked dirt over the remains of my breakfast, covering the evidence of my freakout. You're sure? Jason said. Don't let Paige pressure you, Tessa said. I said she could go home. Paige's overexcitement bloomed back into being. Not in a convincing tone, Tessa said. Laureldale... Yes, I said it right, sorry. I was genuinely...
No, you
sorry,
said
I did say it right. Okay, good. To wonder what we're laughing at, go back a few episodes. Not in a convincing tone, Tessa said. Laureldale 101 sounds a lot better than going home so Kate can pretend she's not hovering over me, I said. I'll get the go-ahead from Dad. Tessa ran toward the fire trucks. Paige stared after her. How bad do you think the fire is? No clue, Jason said. Can you make sure we find out soon? Paige said. Yeah. Jason pulled his phone from his back pocket. Want me to see if I can get us a spot at Mom's? Paige nodded and turned to me, holding out the 2 stuffed rams Jason and I had been given. Had it even been an hour ago? The left-hand ram's plastic eyes locked with mine, begging me not to touch him with my now dirt-flecked hands. Hands. Had there been anything in bruised Jason's hands in the vision? The knife and hammer had been Noah's. The girl on the ground, I hadn't seen any weapons near her, none with Paige's wall of pictures either. But there was something about the pictures, a flicker of a detail my mind hadn't managed to catch. Why don't I bring these with me? Paige tucked the rams back into her arms. I'll wrangle the others and meet you there. She didn't wait for Jason to answer before striding toward the horde of gawking students like a headmistress searching for contraband. Jason hunched over, stooping to match my mere 5'7" height. Do you feel okay to drive? Sure, but I walked today. You okay riding with me? Should I not be? I raised an eyebrow. Do you feel okay to drive? I'm an excellent driver. He mirrored me, raising one of his eyebrows. But it's also an easy walk if you'd rather. A ride would be great. This way. He swooped his arm to the side, bowing me toward the parking lot, waiting until I'd taken a step toward him to start leading me out of the strip of trees. I kept my gaze pinned to the back of his head as I followed him down the row of students' cars. I didn't want to look at the school, wondering how many memories had been destroyed to feed the smoke still funneling out of the building would be the trauma equivalent of slamming a sledgehammer against the wall in my mind just to see if the barrier would break. Jason cut between a pair of matching black Jeeps, heading toward the far corner where the parking lot met the road. "Is your truck okay?" he asked. The logical answer would have been yes, or I wanted to walk in the fresh morning air, or even anxiety demanded I exercise before even attempting to focus in class. But the truth came out instead. It's not my truck. I don't want it to be my truck. It's my grandmother's truck and I hate it. I'm sorry. He stopped in front of an older but rust-free black car parked right beside where Gran's truck had been the day before. Her hands left marks on the steering wheel, from gripping too hard when asshole drivers taunted the wolf's temper. Touching the worn places feels like shoving my hands into a grave. I couldn't make myself do it today. Jason didn't say anything as he opened the passenger side door. The scent of coffee and cinnamon surrounded me, dulling the acrid stench of the smoke as I sank into my seat and closed the door. Jason had parked facing the woods, the windshield giving me a perfect view to catch a flicker of a shadow shifting through the trees. I knew it was a bird. The size, the speed, only a bird made sense. But I still couldn't be mad at myself for foolishly hoping it had been Caleb, standing guard, making sure I hadn't fallen so far into the visions I couldn't claw my way back to reality. Ready to stop me if I fucked up badly enough to risk the lives of every Etherean in Laureldale, even if he had to kill me to do it. And thus ends Chapter 6. All right, so what are your thoughts? I feel like we typically start with mine. I could be lying about that. But how do you feel hearing the chapter aloud? Like, are you... I don't know, because you were very critical of your work, overly critical, but how do you feel about it?
I mean,
The last episode, by the way, just to remind you, you were like, nothing happens. And I was like, you're incorrect, but go ahead. So what about this one?
I mean, I feel like a lot happens in this chapter, even though there's not a lot of, like, relationship development or movement or things like that. I feel like there is so much that's going on that's building the circle around it. So, like, the little bubble that is Ella's now has not been touched.
Right.
But the sort of potential space for where Ella's going has rapidly expanded in this chapter.
It's interesting to me that you say that you don't think there's been a lot of relationship development. And I guess, like, not as much as there was in the... No, it wasn't the last. It was 2 episodes ago, right? Where she was walking in the woods with Caleb. But like that one, yes, there was a little bit more back and forth. There was a little, you saw her be a little bit more vulnerable with Caleb, and Caleb kind of sharing that vulnerability a little bit. But that said, seeing her crew, because she kind of has on day 2 a set crew now that we're adding members, right? Like we've got Tessa now, who I think is adorable. Why do
you think she's adorable?
I don't know. She's adorable to me. I have no idea. Just the fact that she's like, fires are traumatic. And yeah, like, I don't know. She just is cute to me.
Well, of course she knows fires are traumatic. Her father's the fire chief.
I know that. I read the chapter twice.
But that's why she has the water and the
times.
ice packs, because, you know, like, her dad's the fire chief, so she's used to the fire trucks and the ambulances, so she knows where the cold water and ice packs are.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so, but still, like, having Caleb kind of watching her from the woods, and just to make sure that she's okay was really, really sweet. Jason being there and being the, I'm going to go ahead and say it, and you can tell me we can get this later, but being that gravity that's holding her down as she's kind of spiraling, right? I think is really, really cool. And then Paige, just love Paige. Paige just being like, no, we're going to do this. You are going to be welcome to Laureldale. Are you sure you're okay with that? Are you okay? We're cool. Yeah. I just love, she's like, she has a plan and we're going. We have friends like that.
Yes.
And I love them for that.
Yes, we do. We do, in fact, have friends that are just like that. And I do love them, because sometimes you need that friend to be like, nope, buck the fuck up, we going. I like that I can say that on this podcast. And I also like that because normally he has a big thing where he's like, any fuck that is not plot necessary or pivotal should be cut. But I love how many you let me leave in this chapter without arguing with me. Not even one.
There actually weren't. Okay, there were. Yeah,
there
okay,
were a lot.
handful.
There were a lot.
Well, so the reason being is because the reason being is because I wonder if you were actually off camera. I was like, I should have watched that. It doesn't matter. I'll blur you out or something. Camera magic. Fix it in post. But oh gosh, I lost what I was going to say.
We were talking about putting all the F-bombs in the chat.
Oh, right. Thank you. Well, because it's one of those things where I try to be cognizant of and conscious of the fact that there are parents out there who don't want their kids reading curse words. And I get it. If you were a parent out there, I understand. I appreciate that you were shielding your kids. I will also take this moment to tell you that they're hearing it. But I do understand you being like, but I'm not going to get them a book where all these words are cool. No, I get it. I get it.
Honestly, some of the slang I've heard
it
from our theater students, that is way worse than any curse words I know. Oh, wow. They are going there. They are going to places that at least my friends in high school did not go. We would not have, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to date this episode of the podcast.
Right. No,
so in
right.
2 months when new slang comes around.
Yeah. I love language. Just constantly.
But I would not have been that bold. I would not have.
Slight tangent here, but to your point, and just talking about how, especially with theater students and how brazen they are. I had this student this summer and she felt comfortable enough with me saying this. She's also 15, 16, but she at one point jokingly was like, "Oh, what, sir? Are you some kind of entitled asshole?" And I went. Sure. Yeah. No. Yeah.
When your students ask if you're an asshole,
I was like, that's hilarious to me. It was very funny. Anyway, some people listening to this, they are terrible role models. No, we just kind of let high schoolers be high schoolers.
I mean, you didn't say it to them; they said it to you.
No, exactly. No, and then I was just like, I can't argue with this. Now, if they're ever talking back to me, I will absolutely be like, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Because discipline is important. However, them saying something like that, I was like, that's funny. And yeah, you would say that to your friends. I'm not your friend, but that's fine. So getting back into the world of writing, there were a few things I wanted to discuss with you. And one of them kind of goes back to what you were saying. And I'm not going to get into what we were discussing with it because that's not important right now. But when you were asking me about numbers in this episode, starting with 81, we'll say, my initial thought when I read that was 81 days. I was like, I wonder if that has anything to do with, in our lives, there was a moment when we actually, so we have 3 cats. 2 of them, I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast, but 2 of them had FIP, which is a curable disease, by the way. It's like not everybody comes through the treatment, but both of our babes did. Mm-hmm. But the treatment is that you have to give them injections 84 days in a row. So did that number stick in your head because of that? Or does that have nothing to do with this? Or do you know? Is
81 felt really right in my soul, so I went with it.
I wonder, what do you think now that I've said that? Do you think that had anything to do with it?
That probably has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I was trying to figure out what I wanted the timeline to be. And for some reason, 81 seemed right. Mm-hmm. And I did the math and I did the timeline with it. And I was like, 81 works. And my brain likes 81.
I just, 84 was such an important, and especially because not only did you have to do 84 days worth of injections, but then you had to observe them for 84 days before they were considered, not cured, but
kind of remission.
In remission, basically. But yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting. So thank you for answering that. That was just for me.
That had not occurred to me, but 81 just felt right, and then it worked, so I went with it.
I'm gonna go back up to, let's see. I even wrote this down. Page 6. Oh man, is it not page 6 anymore? Oh, I lost it. There was a. Okay. So there was a point when, I can't remember what it is now. There was the dead girl on the concrete, or the supposedly dead girl. We don't know for sure if she was dead. But immediately after she starts talking about the dead girl, then Tessa comes in. And I was like, there a reason that you did that? Like, you don't need to answer that now, but I was like, that immediately makes me think, oh shit, it's her. But is that what you were trying to have us feel in that moment?
It is not about how you feel.
Okay.
It is about how her visions are triggered and what is happening in the greater world of the school at the time.
Okay. It was, sorry, I found it. It was on page 7. I don't know how I wrote that down wrong. But and fuck, why the hell was there a dead girl? The girl with the water sat beside Jason. And I was like, oh shit. But anyway, okay, so that's not.
So I mean, it could be that would fit within the mechanism.
Okay.
But I'm not going to spoil anything by saying yes or no.
Much appreciated that.
But the way the visions are generally triggered, it is either by contact.
Yes.
It does not have to be physical contact. It can be.
So was that Paige that grabbed her shoulder at the beginning then?
No, that was Jason.
That was Jason. Okay, that started that.
So it can be physical contact. It can be hearing something. It can be seeing something. It can be smelling something. It can be a massive event that just kind of causes like a cosmic fate shift in the world. So if something big enough happens, she could see something that's not even anywhere near her.
Oh, so it kind of like reverberates, like a butterfly effect-ish type thing? Okay.
So like big enough things. So that's the thing. Like one old man's death, she touches his hand and she sees it.
Yes.
Then her brain is going haywire. She's hearing voices from the school. She's hearing sirens. She's hearing cops. She's hearing people are touching her. She's panicking. She's smelling smoke. So it's that sensory overload, and it's all those vision triggers going into one where she's just seeing this cacophony of visions.
Yes.
And it is all being done by triggers in the area.
Okay, so I'm glad that you brought up the multiple visions, because my next question for you was, and you actually helped me come up with this one, because we were talking about the visions and how she is saying that like it's an unsolvable mess. I believe is the actual quote. You said to me when I was like, so is that something like, do we know for a fact that like she cannot solve this? Is this something that she's been able to do? And you said, no, it's kind of like if I were to show you, like, look at this picture, picture, and then that's it. And then you have to remember all of them and try to figure out what's in common. And
it's almost like, so this is, they have it at Disney World for a couple different things. For people who haven't been to Disney World, they have a couple 360 theaters. They have one for Canada and I think one for China.
Yes.
And so you're standing in the middle of a dome, almost like a planetarium, and there is an entire world around you. And you can kind of tell based on the lighting and the way that they focus, like exactly what point of the screen you're supposed to be looking at.
But you can look anywhere.
But you could look
It's 360,
anywhere.
yeah. It's cool.
So
it's
what's
cool.
really happening to her is she's getting dropped in these moments. She's getting dropped into this 360.
Yeah, the fact that she doesn't see who closes the door, which I'm assuming is a girl, unless she's hearing that from a different vision. But like that girl saying like, you won't listen to me.
So if
and then,
she had enough time,
so cool,
she could try to fight her way there.
And she can't rewind or anything like
she
that.
Can't, like if something could trigger the vision again,
right?
She could try to find the right source to trigger the vision again.
Okay.
But she can't just toss herself back.
So has she... Okay.
Oh, but wait. No, what I wanted to
sorry.
say is, so picture yourself, what's happening to her in this moment is picture yourself in the 360 theater, and she's getting dropped, and she's getting basically a 3 count in each place.
Okay.
And she doesn't even know exactly which part of the theater she's supposed to be looking at.
Okay.
So she doesn't even know where in the thing she's supposed to be seeing. So she's trying to take in details from all around her, and she's getting 1, 2, 3 and trying to remember everything, but then a brand new picture is coming right at her. So then you get to the end. So with things like Noah, where it's one person, there's a light, everything else is dark.
Right, that's easier for her to recall.
It's easier for her to recall because there's also not something right after it.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, Noah's in the parking lot at the school. He's got a hammer. He's got a knife. Really weird. Didn't catch anything else. But like person, weapons, place. Great. Got it. But because everything else is cycling through so fast, she knows she's following something glinting in the woods. That's it. there are no other details because she didn't have time to try to find them.
So, this is great. I wasn't expecting to have so many follow-up questions for you, but I do. I lost my first one, but maybe it'll come back. But one of them is...
We should have like a notebook that you can take.
I do have one, and I need to, like, I was doing that one of the other episodes, but it's currently on the other side of my computer, and I'm just like, it's fine.
Yeah, we should put it here next time.
That's a good idea. No, because I don't want you cheating and looking at the questions.
Okay, so we should.
I trust you with my life, but not with my questions.
I agree with that.
Yes, because you're a younger sibling.
You trust me with your life, but not with hidden Christmas presents. But no, we should move the table farther that way next time and put a notebook there.
Oh yeah, that would be. I could also just like kind of.
At least I'm honest.
Yeah, you are. No, I can also just bring another table. Anyway, so before I lose the question completely.
Okay, sorry.
I'm assuming that my question was going to be, why is she all of a sudden being thrown to the frickin' wolves in these visions? But is it because the scent of the fire is triggering that trauma of losing her family?
Yeah, so it's kind of...
She just seems very susceptible to it.
She got pushed into basically a panic attack.
Right.
So she's having a panic attack, and so everything that's normally happening, the calm, the focus, that I'm in this moment, in this world around me, like she has the ability to sort of maintain what she's doing.
Sorry, I'm going to write this down.
But while a teacher having a heart attack, like, yeah, it sucks. And yeah, there are paramedics and EMTs and sirens and whatever, but that doesn't really have anything to do with her. A guy had a heart attack, whatever. But the smoke and the flashing lights and the fire, that sends her into a panic attack in a way an old dude having a heart attack isn't going to do.
Right.
And so it's that panic and that anxiety that every boundary she has worked to build for herself, it just all cracks because she can't do it. There's too much happening. It's too much overload. It's too much panic, too much grief. So everything just hits her at once.
Okay. So then... That sounds to me almost akin to when you had your injury. We learned months after the fact.
The brain injury, by the way.
I'm sorry.
I had a brain injury.
Yes, sorry, the brain injury. Well, we've talked about it before, and I don't know if we've mentioned another injury. Yes. So when you
could have the listener could have a brain injury, so they don't remember it.
You know what? That's fair. If you do, I'm sorry, but this is a great place to come because we are both very well versed in that now. And like for instance, we learned months afterwards, which is just insane, but that's brain injuries. That there are filters that you develop throughout your life, and that when you got hit on the head by a negligent asshole. I can say that. Sorry. Okay. I can say that.
Yes, legally.
I didn't sign shit. Anyway, sorry. But the
joke off camera.
But when that happened, it kind of resets the filters in your brain for certain things. So, like, maybe we brought this up before, but that time we were at Epcot and you had the fireworks, and then all of a sudden, just like everybody's voice, you could hear everyone around you at basically the same level. Like volume didn't matter because your brain had lost the ability to filter out outside noise and focus on one thing. So is that because trauma, and I learned this from my sister who has 2 masters in psych, and she was like, trauma can actually act like a brain injury to somebody who has experienced it. So it has similar effects. So is that kind of what happens? Does she lose that filter? I mean, but that, yes. I guess it's not also the same because it feels like a temporary loss as opposed to a permanent one.
It is a temporary loss. Okay. So
sorry, that was a really roundabout way of getting
there. It's okay.
There.
So Caleb, the dryad. Did I do it better?
Yeah.
Dryad.
Coming to a Target near you, Dryad. We are not sponsored by Target, by the way.
No.
I do love shopping at Target.
Okay, millennial.
Continue.
So Caleb, it is his experience as a fae trying to survive in the high school is I can't deny very much from that aspect.
Right.
But Ella and the vision, it's more like her bubble is gone, and kind of picture. Did you just zoom in really far by accident? This is going to be the best YouTube video.
I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
continue.
I love this about the watch, but I hate it about the watch too. If I touch the crown on the watch, it will zoom in. My apologies. I didn't know I was doing
Okay,
it.
so think of it instead as like, okay, Ella has her personal bubble.
Yes.
And sometimes things are strong enough to pierce that personal bubble, and she has a vision.
Okay.
So when she has a panic attack, that shield around her collapses.
Okay.
And then kind of picture the vision as 55-year-olds wanting her attention at once. So it's everyone grabbing her and trying to ask her for something at the same time.
Okay.
And there's sound, and it's the feeling of pulling, and they're turning her this way and that way, so she can't even really see which kid is asking for what.
Okay.
So that's more the feeling of her visions, whereas Caleb's sensory overwhelm is a lot more akin to post-TBI Megan brain.
Okay. Yes. I remember you talking about Caleb and like one of the reasons that you wanted to Faye there to explore that. I wonder if people have explored that as in depth. I know that people have done it. Like people have had like the super hearing and how that can sometimes be a bit of kryptonite. But that's, I'm really excited for you to
I mean,
to
any
explore
gift
that.
can become a curse if it's big enough.
100%. Okay. So I'm trying to think which one of these I want to, what are you doing? That's my beer.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the oh, I already asked that. Okay, great. So the visions. It's a book about a seer, so I got a lot of questions about visions. And you don't have to answer this if you think it would be a spoiler, but
I'm gonna put my shirt up in case.
Okay, here we go. This is called the shirt up the sequence of I don't know. So shut up. So have visions of Ella's have all of them come true that she knows of? Are there any that haven't that she is aware of? And if so or not, can you share that?
Yes.
Okay, so what?
Not all visions come true. So this is going like...
Okay, so she knows that her visions aren't always accurate.
This is going like deep into world lore. Like we're probably not going to pry this deep until it...
Right, but I mean
until book 2. So
like
this is
most
not pivotal right now.
Okay.
But there is a very set system for how it works.
Okay, but...
So when she has a vision...
Yes.
There is a chance she can stop it. So let's say she has a vision of a kid kicking a ball and running into the road.
Okay.
She punts the ball back towards the house before the kid gets hit by a car. Boom. Kid survives.
Okay.
It's easy. All she has to do is be there to deflect the ball.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. So then for them not to come true, does she have to intervene?
In something has to change from what she's seeing.
So it can't... Okay, so then...
If the path is as it is...
And goes unaltered by her.
Goes unaltered by anything.
But what I mean is that, like, obviously she could tell somebody like Jason to go punt the ball and it would still happen. But if she does not in some way intervene...
Yes.
Then it's going to happen.
Yes.
Wow. So the reason I asked that is because I was like, I feel like with... Not that this is a time travel thing, but... Whenever you're messing with time, the future is almost always in flux, right?
So this is where you get into more complicated things. So if you're talking about the kid with the ball,
yes.
There is one cause, one effect.
Okay.
So ball
Taking
goes
my beer
into
back.
the road. No, leave it in the middle.
No,
I'm doing really good explanation. I deserve a beer sip. Okay, so it's mine. Okay, we'll share. There's another one in the
We'll
fridge.
share my beer. Good.
Yes, community property. I learned that in Guys and Dolls. Okay, so with the one cause, one effect, all she has to do is kick the ball the other way.
Okay, right.
And that problem solved.
Okay.
With something like Mr. Carver's heart attack, she can't stop him from having a heart attack.
No.
That is whatever his genetics are, his diet, his exercise, his stress level, his blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She can't stop that.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because there could be any number of factors that is.
There's nothing that she can do.
Right.
And then even if it's not something like, okay, well, this thing could have been set like he has a genetic predisposition for sudden heart attacks.
Right.
There's a fancy word for like when your heart just goes and you drop, but I can't remember it in this moment.
Oh, isn't it SADS, sudden adult death syndrome?
No, that's different.
Oh, okay.
There's like a certain kind of heart attack. I did a lot of research on it to make sure that
I mean, there's
okay.
the Widowmaker.
No, that's not it.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so but she can't
Which is
do
kind
that
of sexist, honestly. Sorry.
Well, men have more heart attacks.
Oh, well, that's true.
But so she would have to go back to potentially before his parents met.
Okay.
To stop them from conceiving him, to stop his DNA, to blah,
And now we get into
blah,
butterfly effect stuff.
So that can't work.
Okay.
And so there's also some things where it's like massive world events.
Okay.
Like a seer can't really stop a world war.
Right.
There's no one event you could deter to make it not happen. Like, yeah, maybe you could postpone it a couple days.
Okay.
But that's one person can't stop that.
Right.
So there are fixed points where it's too complicated. You can't break all the threads.
Okay.
And then there are easy points like kicking the ball back towards the house.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a judgment of what's happening. Does she stand a chance at stopping it? Does it actually need to be stopped?
Right.
So like Jason being mad in the hallway, is that like, what is that?
Right.
Does it matter? Does it need to be stopped? Is he fighting with his girlfriend?
But I feel like we can assume that it. Oh, well, that's true.
Like maybe that's him breaking up with the love of
what's
his
funny
life.
is that's actually what I thought was going on. I was like, oh, so he actually already has a girlfriend. That is like kind of what I read into it.
But that's the thing,
Not
is
that's
that
important.
Ella doesn't know.
Okay.
He could be breaking up with the love of his life. He could have a sister
Mm-hmm.
that she doesn't know about, and he's having an epic fight with his sister that separates them for years, so they're not close for a while.
Okay.
So it's one of those, like, just because it's an important moment doesn't mean it's life or death, doesn't mean it should be changed, doesn't mean that maybe breaking up with that girlfriend is what sets him on his path to do something huge in life, because he's like, I don't have this girlfriend anymore. I'm moving to England for college. So it could be something good that she doesn't want to alter. So she needs to figure out what is this a problem? And sometimes it's obvious, like Noah standing in a parking lot with a hammer and knife.
Right, that's probably bad. Yeah.
Probably bad, but
especially since it's a kitchen knife.
Jason getting yelled at and a door slammed in his face.
Not a big deal.
Do we care?
Right. Paige having a weird number of photos pinned to it. Like, I mean, that sounds like actually, okay, that's not weird. That sounds like Paige. She sounds like somebody that would have like a crime board with like the yarn and stuff.
I mean, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that it's, what do I need to change? What can I change?
Right.
What am I going to really screw up if I attempt to change?
Yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So the last thing I have on the agenda to talk about is
I have one too. Do you want me to do
great.
mine
Yes.
first?
Do yours first, please.
So I'm going to sneeze soon, and I'm sorry if we have to cut and start recording again. I'm
That's
just gonna keep my
okay. I
finger
wonder
on
if
my
your
nose.
point is my point, by the way.
So my point is that we are currently doing a production of Pippin
Yes, we are.
near Orlando, Florida. And we actually have some deaf cast members. And we were talking to one of the deaf cast members.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you for bringing
because of
this
the way
up.
that the chapters of Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer are being published both on Kindle Vella and on Substack. Those are the two places that you can read the chapters of Substack of a Wayward Seer as an actual chapter, as the text instead of part of the podcast. And both of those at this point are behind paywalls because those are the rules that Amazon has to mandate.
Yeah, and since
So,
you have 31
unfortunately,
novels plus complete collections,
I can't really afford to make
lose your
this on
account.
mad.
Correct.
So we have to keep those things behind paywalls. And because of that, it also means that we can't have a full transcript of the podcast available, because it would have the text of the chapter, which would also break Amazon rules, which is, again, something I can't afford to risk.
Yeah, we just can't.
However, because I understand that there are deaf and hard of hearing members of this reader community that I want to grow and I want to appreciate, no matter how you can enjoy the podcast, though I cannot provide a transcript for you, if it is for accessibility purposes, please know I have no ill will toward you using whatever program you use in order to be able to move this into a format where you can enjoy the text. I have no opposition for that. I'm sorry that it's not something I can provide for you myself just because of fear But please know that I am happy to have you do it. I want to have you do it. Please, however you can enjoy this best, I want that to happen for you. And I'm really sorry that I can't make it easier so you don't have to put in that extra step. But thank you for putting in the extra step if that is how you choose to include this or to enjoy this. And I am so happy to have you as a part of this page by page on Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer community. So whatever things you need to do to be a part of this, please do it, because we want everyone here. We want this to be
it's true. We really
an
do.
open and inclusive place. And I'm sorry I'm leaving you one extra step in order to be able to enjoy the podcast. But
Yeah. Something that the cast member that you're talking about brought up was that you can, once these videos are up, and it is going to happen. Life has just been insane lately. But hopefully it'll be less so soon.
Being an adult saying life will get easier next week over and over and over
until you die. Until you die, yes. But is that you can go to YouTube and just click on the closed captions, and that will at least give you the ability to read along with us. And he was like, as long as, I feel like you probably enunciate well, and we're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we do. I mean,
until I start cackling over what you're saying, and then I'm sure there's going to be a weird break.
There will be weird moments.
Okay. So what was your thing?
Yes, and then we have to go. We have to start wrapping it up. But is that I wanted to bring up the fact that we are about 4 episodes away, or 5, I guess, from when we are talking about doing a recap episode, because we felt that it was important to do one. And are we just going to do? Well, we can't just do the chat. How do we do that?
Okay, so what my plan is, and we're talking about this now, so who
I'm
knows?
Wait a minute,
may end up doing something
because we didn't actually
different.
discuss this fully.
So what my plan is to do what Joanna Penn of the Creative Penn podcast calls an in-between-isode.
Okay.
So we would have our normal episodes of, let's say, chapter 10 and chapter 11 doing Thursday, and then the next Thursday, and then, or Tuesday. We release on Tuesday.
Yeah,
so Tuesday, and then the next Tuesday, and then maybe Friday night, Saturday morning, something like that, we put out a 15-minute little mini-sode. Okay. That is just us chatting through everything in the season so far.
Oh.
So that it's been a while since you've listened.
Yep, I'm glad this was my point, but I didn't know what point I was trying to make.
Or let's say that you have a friend who hopefully you're telling all your friends how much fun you're having.
Yeah, tell them to come have fun.
But if you have someone who recommends
join
this podcast, I don't want people to feel overwhelmed, like, oh no, I have to go back and listen to 10 episodes in order to catch up to my friend.
Right.
So I want to have a mid-season entrance point for people like me who get overwhelmed by the sheer number of books.
Right.
So I just won't start a book series if there's 20 books, because I get so overwhelmed by how much I have to catch up.
Yeah.
So this way, if we do a couple times a podcast season, like, here is your 15-minute. This is everything you know if you are starting, everything you need to know if you're starting the podcast from here. Yeah. This is your catch-up point. And there's not going to be a published version of it. I don't think it's going to be in the book or anything like that. It'll just be a brief chat. I'll have some bullet points of what we really need to make sure is clear going forward. We have a quick
Knowing
chat.
us, it's going to be like a 30-minute chat after we finish doing everything.
Ooh, we could do instead of beer, we could do a mixed drink for the ketchup. We could design let's design a cocktail.
I think my first one's going to be the Blood Moon.
Can it be a ketchup cocktail?
Can it be a ketchup cute.
Oh,
it's like you're an author.
Oh, this is going to be so cute.
It's like you're a creative.
But so we'll have a ketchup cocktail.
I love it.
We'll do a little recording.
Yeah.
We'll do it specially.
That's great.
And then if someone wants to join in the community and they feel like they don't have time to go back, or, we're listening and something came up and they're a little bit behind and they need a refresher, then they can have this little entrance point that will gateway them into continuing with the community.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's perfect. All right. Well, I love that plan.
I can't wait for you to design our ketchup cocktail.
Sure. Hey, I was a bartender once for like a couple months.
I was also a bartender.
Yes, you were.
Was very not good.
That's
you know what
okay.
drinks I can make?
What?
Rum and Coke.
Oh, wow.
Gin and tonic.
Oh,
Vodka soda.
Okay. So, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Page by Page, writing the book in real time.
I'm so glad I'm an author and not a bartender. I would be
My
a
goodness.
bartender. Sorry, continue with the side off.
I don't. That's all I got.
Thank you for joining us
Yes.
for this week's episode of Page by Page podcast, and for joining us for another episode of Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer. Make sure that you follow us on whatever platform you enjoy the podcast on. Like, leave a review, all those good things. Please do share with your friends. We're having so much fun growing this community, and the more the merrier. We're having some great discussions over on Substack, so hop on over to the Substack for Page by Page and Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer and hang out with us. And don't forget, the Kickstarter for the Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer Special Fancy Edition is like, there's just the tiniest thing for you to follow, so it'll tell you when it's ready.
Yep.
But it is there, and you can
We're
put
still
your email address
a
in
ways
it.
away, but
But the cool thing
time
is,
moves quickly.
if you put your email address in, so if you go to Kickstarter and you look up Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer and you put in your email address, it will keep you in. It'll keep you there so that when it does launch, it will send you an email saying the Kickstarter has launched. But also, the more people who subscribe to want updates about it, it'll tell Kickstarter that people are interested. So then it'll make their algorithm. I will please the algorithm. God.
Please the algorithms.
Please the algorithm. But yes, please follow, share, subscribe, whatever it is on the platform that you enjoy most. And thank you so much for joining us for another week
Yeah.
of the Page by Page podcast.
And as always, thank you for reading.